So for those of you who don't know, my name is Les Fletcher and I work in the e-construction group here at headquarters. And I'm just kind of hosting today. I don't have a whole lot to say, lucky you. And so we appreciate all of you jumping on and spending the time with us so we can go through some of these issues that have been coming up and just some general information that needs to get out from our headquarters construction section to you in the field and contractors and consultants. And so just a few Zoom rules. You can see them here. Just make sure you're muted. You can ask questions in the chat throughout the entire meeting, but save the verbal questions to the end. We're going to have a little time for that. And there's some suggestions for how you should do the meeting. I want to let everybody know that the meeting will be recorded and put on our YouTube page. If you guys got the document we sent out last time after the meeting, it had a link to that YouTube video, the last one we did. And so we'll post that again and try to get you a link out to it so you can rewatch it if you need or kind of refer back to some of the things we said. And last but not least, we'd love to see you. So if you have a camera, please turn it on. It makes the meetings more engaging and we really enjoy that. It helps us connect with you and have a little bit better meeting. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brian.
Good morning, everyone. So this is our second webinar. I think this is going to be a great platform for everybody. We have our in-person meetings coming up in less than a week. We're starting our first one in District 02. So this is just kind of what's happened since the last time, a few things we've been seeing, and we just want to keep that open communication going and get information out to everybody as much as possible. And we're going to touch on a few things, and then for the most part, we're going to carry the bulk of that information into the in-person meetings coming up. So today we're going to talk to you guys about communicating with the districts and with headquarters, our new request for change order form, our RFCO, the chain of command when dealing with the chief engineer. We're publishing some documents to our intranet and to our outward-facing page that will be available for our district staff as well as our outside community of industry and our consulting partners. We're going to pull in a few change order general info subjects that we've been seeing over the last couple of months. And then at the very end, we're going to have a QR code to submit topics for the upcoming in-person meetings. And we have a little disclaimer on the bottom of this slide. Guys, the main thing here is just we want to impress is that, we're trying to get this information out and the intent of what the contract says, and we're trying to clarify those issues. So if somebody misspeaks on this format and there's a question or it seems like there's a conflict in what we say, just bring it to our attention and we'll clarify that through follow-up correspondence or through one of the webinars. So, we're not perfect. This is a live event. So if we say something that's, that might not be exactly 100% correct, just call it out and we'll get it straight. So communication with the districts, this is in reference to our disputes or issues having on the projects. This recently came up and we just want to make sure, there's several bullets here, but the bottom line is we want to make sure that we're communicating with our project engineering staff and our area engineers, with the contracting community and with headquarters construction at the same time. We don't want to hold meetings where one party is excluded or one of the partners is not, party to that conversation. It's about transparency for all the stakeholders and creating a culture, on the project that's a partnering effort that moves the project forward, that we don't cause division. We want to make sure that everyone's involved. So if there's a dispute, contractors, we don't mind you guys calling up here and getting advice or having an issue clarified. But if it's something on the project that we need to involve the project engineers and the area engineers as well. Most issues, we want them resolved at the lowest level, of course, but trying to run a project from here is not the most effective way to do that. And of course, some things need to be escalated. And if it becomes a claim, then that's a whole different process, and we'll handle that when it comes. So we have our new RFCO form that's it's being developed right now with our change order EDSM. That EDSM is 3111, and that's at the secretary right now for review. And our new RFCO is kind of like our RFI document, where you're going to have the contractor will submit. Let's see, I'm gonna pull it up right here. Basically, I'll just tell you about it. So the contractor is going to submit the request for change order, and it will have the rough order of magnitude of the time, or the estimated time and the estimated cost for that change order. Then it will have the justification and description by the contractor. And then it has a section for the district to write in whether they feel there's entitlement for that time and entitlement for that cost estimate, which will be forwarded up to headquarters and to the appropriate approval level. And each of those has to be submitted prior to beginning work. The highest approval level must sign off prior to the work starting. And then once the work gets started, we convert that RFCO document into the change order. And then the change order needs to be completed before finishing the work. I'm sure there'll be some questions on that. We will have that RFCO and the EDSM available at the in-person meetings starting next week. We can go in depth on each of those and be able to give you more detail on that. We just wanted to give you a heads up that's coming, and that will be the new process for starting, documenting, and finishing out change orders. All right, chain of command. Matt, I think this one's yours.
Yep. So the spec book, of course, calls out the chief engineer in a lot of various sections, and just wanted to make it clear that a lot of those issues have been delegated down to headquarters construction. The chief construction materials engineer, which is Brian, or our headquarters area engineers can weigh in on those things. So if you would, when we get issues involving a 50% pay or other specific items in the specs that call for the chief engineer's approval, if you would send that to your headquarters area engineer for their review, they can comment on it, get y'all direction. Most of the 50% remove replace things, if you're wanting to know if it can stay in place, we can kind of get you some guidance on that yes, we think that can stay in place with the 50% removal pay item, or if we think no, that needs to be taken out, we'll let you know that as well. But the chief gets a lot of other things, not just from construction, but design, planning, all those various other responsibilities of the department, and it's pulled in a lot of different ways, so he's not able to get to some of those things. So if you would forward that again to our headquarters area engineers, and we will be happy to assist you in any of those issues when the spec calls for the chief engineer's approval. Again, he will still be on all category 1 change orders, so he still is in the approval process for the change orders to keep these things in place.
I want to go over publishing documents for the purpose of getting documents out on the intranet and the internet. We've talked about our SOP document, but we haven't actually loaded it to the intranet yet. We will do that. We'll just keep in mind it's a live document, and so updates will be made periodically, and so I would always go to that link for reference to see the latest document out there. And but we will be adding it to the intranet and internet so that people, seeing eyes or whoever needs to look at it is outside and can get access to it. And then change order templates will be also loaded to the internet. Right now, they're only on the intranet. And I have made some documents, an assembly period change order template, and also to fill out the general information, I made a general a guideline to fill out that where to go and fill out all that information on the template, that beginning information that doesn't really change, but you have to fill it out for every project. So that will be loaded both on the internet and the intranet. And then soon we'll have a additional template for closeout projects, where you can put that explanation on certain closeout projects where it'll tell you what to put, what information to add on the documents if you have them or not for final audit. In addition to that, we have other documents we're going to add to the intranet for outside access. That includes the change order category worksheet, reason code, the upcoming RFCO document forms, and I plan on doing a micro training. It might be pre-recorded, but for the template general information guide and some updates I made to the assembly period. So we may do some micro trainings on many of the templates that we have out there to kind of better give you all some guidance on how to fill those out. All right, so we get frequently questions on how to find the funding and fill out the funding categories and funding sources on the templates. This information can be found in Site Manager. And so we kind of drew up a little diagram to show you how to maneuver in Site Manager to find this information. So, you go into the Site Manager panel and click on the contract administration. You go to, contract records, and then under categories, you can select your category. This will give you the description on what that category is. So if you have an item that you're adding, you can assign it to the correct category. And then also, you can then look up the contract funding. When you click on that, it'll give you the category number, the funding source, which we also need, and the funding source description. So that information can be copied and pasted into your template. And then the reason why we want to look this up is because, certain categories have priorities. This one has all priority 1 and no cap. But if we have a priority 1 and then priority 2, priority 1 will have a cap, and then you have to move to priority 2. And the last FYI portion here is you have a little bit of additional information that if you want to know it, it gives you the previous estimates paid out on the 80% portion of this item and the current estimate amount that's pending for the current estimate. So you can have an idea of how much you have left on that item. All right, so prices for change orders. So I'm going to go over this a bit because we've had a lot of different change orders that have had we've had to make corrections on. So I think hopefully going over this will make it a little clearer. Bid unit prices, those are the prices that are, established at the unit cost. If we want to extend a contract item, we generally use the established item at bid and extend it. And now if you have major items where it's increases or decreases 25% of the contract quantity, that means the quantity at award, you would adjust the unit price in accordance with 10903. If the unit prices aren't applicable, meaning you got new work or new items, you're going to make payments at, you can first go to negotiate a price. And we have 2 ways to do that. That you have your weighted averages, which your weighted average, you can use the weighted average tables that are located on the internet that has weighted averages for the last 4 quarters. For further data, you can go to ASHTO, where use data analytics for that estimating software will give you up to the last 3 years. And but however, a weighted average needs to be a handful of bids This is the historical data should be more than just one bid. One bid is not a weighted average. And it should be, a handful of bids or more is better. That historical data it constitutes as our backup for that price. And if you don't have a weighted average, you can go to another negotiated price is that just price it as you bid it. Should be reasonable, and you have to provide backups, quotes for materials, equipment, estimated labor. So to come to a negotiated price, just keep in mind, you still have to have that backup to present in the change order. Otherwise, we don't have anything to base it off of. Then if you cannot come to a negotiated price, either by those two methods, then you need to move to force account, and payment via first account will be made in accordance with 10904. That force account also needs all that invoicing backup. It's based on the direct work done and the 15% markup. Don't excessively delay. If you can't come to a negotiated price, just move to force account.
Good morning. I'm Brian McMillan, the headquarters area engineer for District 04, 05, and 61. I'll be discussing when it's appropriate to extend the notice to proceed versus the assembly period. The notice to proceed extension request is requested by the district for department issues like mitigating impacts to school traffic and road closures on adjacent routes, that sort of thing. Per the Construction Contract Administration Manual, the district must request approval from the headquarters chief construction engineer to issue the notice to proceed after 30 days from the contract execution date. Per the specification, the notice to proceed will be issued as soon as possible and no later than 60 days after the contract execution. Extending the notice to proceed more than 60 days may result in cancellation of the contract. An agreement between the parties must be included in the required Category 1 change order in order to extend the notice to proceed beyond 60 days. The assembly period extension is requested by the contractor to mitigate pre-construction issues such as procuring materials and that sort of thing, contractor-related issues. The contractor must agree to hold their original bid prices and provide backup from the supplier when appropriate. The district must also agree to the extension.
Okay, so with changes in change orders, pricing, a lot of the things that we get with questions are lump sum items, specifically your temporary signs and barricades, mobilization, construction layout. So if we are doing additional work on a particular job, the work associated with those lump sums should be similar to a force account. It's your actual cost that you are going to incur to do temporary signs and barricades, for example. So if we're having to set up a new type of lane closure for your TCS to come out and inspect that every day, and we're extending the job by X number of days, this is where those costs should be computed, that sort of thing. What we don't want is for the lump sum that was originally bid just to be divided by the number of days that were originally in the contract and say, well, this is my cost per day. Much like anything else, those costs kind of go up and down with the project. The mobilization, the spec specifically says no mobilization will be paid for extending. The caveat to that is, of course, if the contractor has moved off, the job was more or less done, but oh, look, we got some additional patching that needs to be done, something like that, they got to mow back in. Or if the additional work requires specific types of equipment and they got to mow that stuff in there, that of course is covered. Same with construction layout. If we're doing additional layout for pipe or different forms of work, and they've got to get their surveyor back out there to lay these things out, to have them constructed properly. We would pay for that as well. But again, it's not a percentage of those original lump sum items. Just wanted to clarify that for everybody. We do get a lot of questions on how to appropriately price those things.
Let's see, before we go into this one, we had a question, guys, at the beginning. So I've been responding to some of these comments, and apparently some of them are direct or not. So I didn't know if everyone was able to see my responses. I guess I need to learn how to use the chat box. But one of the questions was from Chad Rabik. We're talking about headlight sampling on all projects moving forward. So I'm just going to hand that over to Les real quick and let him introduce that. And then Chad will have you jump in and speak on it real quick before we continue on. Les?
Yeah, so sorry, this just came up, so I'm not sure what to say here, but as you all know, that we've kind of been pushing to get everybody moving towards HeadLight, because the time is coming eventually where we are going to move to their system fully and away from Site Manager. And so trying to get all of the PE offices to move to using the HeadLight sample plan and HeadLight materials app for doing your sampling, and a lot of the forms that are associated with that, and then also the HeadLight ATMs. And along with that, just to let everybody on here know, well, first of all, let me say ATM/2059, because most people don't know what I'm talking about when I say ATM. But we have had a couple of ATMs come through District 61 from HeadLight, so we're starting to nail down that process, and we were able to get them submitted and fully approved. And even our audit section has gotten some training, and they know what to look for when that 2059 ATM comes in from HeadLight. District 08, yesterday we just had a meeting with them. They're trying to submit their first one. So we're moving things in that direction, and we want to, help you where we can and get you kind of headed that way, so that it's not a big change when we switch to HeadLight only, right? Because we don't want the whole state all at one time. Now that we turned Site Manager off, we don't want the whole state going, all right, now we need help because we don't know what to do. Like, we're trying to get you eased into this instead of just all at one time. So with that, Chad, I'll give it over to you if you have a few statements you want to make about it.
Yeah, I wanted to let everybody know that, now that we have this HeadLight sampling, it needs to be used on all projects going forward. This will, speaking with headquarters construction, between them and operations, this should really help our audit process toward the end to get jobs wrapped up quickly. As everybody is aware, we've had some audit findings on late final estimates. And as part of our findings, we have to respond to that. And part of our response is, this is one of the systems that we're going to use to get better at our final audits. So on behalf of Todd and myself, I want to thank everybody. We've made a vast improvement in getting these projects off the late list, especially the ones within the last year. But in order to prevent this from happening in the future, we need to be using HeadLight sampling. That's going to be the way to do it. If somebody has a particular problem with it, I need you to talk to your DA, and the DA needs to have a conversation with me. But talking with headquarters construction, it's ready to go. We need to be using it on all projects going forward. So I just wanted everybody to hear that from me and Todd. That's going to be the way we're going to handle it from now on. So appreciate it. Thank y'all for the time.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate that, Chad. And, kudos to everyone who's really, guys really worked hard and got all these projects caught up, and really appreciate all the hard work. Thank you. Appreciate Chad for the information. All right, I'm gonna hand it back over to our group on the next slide.
So this is for our upcoming construction roundup topic. So I'm sure everybody is, well aware of how to utilize a QR code, but this I'd sent out, I believe, an email to our project engineers, area engineers, that sort of thing, asking for topics. And we've received some of those. We've got a lot of things put together for the construction roundups, but if there are specific topics for your district, which we modified the form slightly so that if it's a specific topic, because it is anonymous, if, you know, when you submit this, please put down whether or not you are with DOTD, CE&I, or a contractor, as well as which district you would like for this to be discussed at for, you know, your particular district, because otherwise, you know, didn't have the forethought, I guess, initially to say, hey, which district sent out, you know, topic A or B or C. So we want to make sure that we get your specific topics addressed for each one that we come to. So if y'all would, you know, get out your iPhones, you know, or if you're, you know, good Android user, same thing. Scan that QR code. Don't check your head, Brian. Scan the QR code. Please submit some topics that you know, y'all would be interested in. We will do our best to try and address all of them. You know, if we get 50 topics, you know, for, you know, one particular district, we might have to scale that down and try to figure out which is the most important. But, you know, more feedback is always appreciated.
Thanks, Matt. I just saw Barry Lacey put a comment in the chat that I want to deal with live here. So talking about can CEIs come, and looks like Caitlin is responding to him now. So just so everybody knows, we recently sent out some surveys and stuff about who will be attending, and we are building a database of emails to get those out to people. So what we were finding from the previous Roundup meetings and even these webinars is that we're missing a lot of people that should be invited. And so we had Patrick Eisenhower from our group pulled a list out of site manager, people who have been signing estimates and change orders. We added all those names, obviously all of the names that are in the DOTD phone book. We are sending those out. FHWA is added. But there, I'm just saying all this to say we're probably missing a lot of you. So this is what I need you to do. If you're on this call and you did not get the last thing to sign up to register for the in-person meetings, just shoot me an email after this meeting and I will add you to the list and get that information out to you. And then you're on the list. And from that point forward, you'll be getting anytime we do a webinar, anytime we do in-person meetings, or just sometimes it might just be other communication pipes out to everybody in that community, right? Everybody who's a stakeholder in these LADOTD projects. We're trying to open these lines of communication and get that out to you. So Barry, I appreciate you putting that in there. So if y'all, and it's lester.fletcher@la.gov, you can send that direct to me. I have I've been building the database myself, so appreciate that.
All right. Looks like we got a question less about HeadLight inspectors and Citrix passwords. Logging into HeadLight, you want to take that?
So I'm not sure what that question is in regards to. So HeadLight does not require Citrix. So HeadLight is direct into their software. So where consultant inspectors or even contractors would go through Citrix to get the site manager, that has nothing to do with HeadLight. So if you have a HeadLight password, username and password, it goes direct into their software, which is one of the benefits and one of the reasons we're moving away from site manager is that no one will have to use Citrix anymore. I'm on the list of, you know, that group that handles those questions, and we get Citrix problems all the time. And so I think that's just one additional benefit of HeadLight is that we'll be moving away from that and giving you a better way. So whoever sent that comment, you're welcome to email me directly about it if you want after this meeting, and I'll, you know, talk to you about it, get on the phone with you, whatever.
All right. So we had a couple of questions about some of the previous slides. One was the request for change order and whether or not, you know, if you don't know what the cost is, how are you going to estimate the cost? So the whole point of this is that the RFCO is to get like a rough order of magnitude for the time and the cost of that change order and the justification. So we run it up the chain at all the approval levels. So everyone's involved and everyone knows. And then the PM can also be engaged to find out, you know, approximately what the cost is going to be so they can request the funding from the program manager. So it's about getting that pre-approval of the concept. Now, in some cases, when you can't estimate the cost, that's why we have force account. You can just specify that in the RFCO that, you know, we estimate it to be approximately this, but we're going to proceed via force account. And then it can make its way up the approval chain. And you're approving the concept of the change order and whether there's merit associated with that and whether it's compensable, reimbursable, you know, all of those things that gets everybody on the same page. So everyone's working with the same information. There was also the funding question on our funding slide. There was a lot of information there about where to find that. If you have any questions about that, reach out to our headquarters area engineer or any of us, and we can point you in the right direction, as well as we need to reach out to your appropriate PM and make sure that the funding is available. And talking to some of the PMs, there was some confusion there that the PMs just were being made aware that there's going to be a change order, and they were telling our project engineers, okay, yes, I'm aware of it, proceed with the change order, without understanding the magnitude of that change or actually making sure that that particular funding category had the funds in it. So when we reach out to the PM, you know, come through us, headquarters construction, reach out to your PM and make sure that they understand that, you know, a rough order of magnitude, how much is this going to cost, and the appropriate funding category. Let's see. I think that was it on those. Did I miss any in the chat? Matt, Les, anything I didn't talk about?
I'm trying to answer most of them in the chat as I go through here.
Yeah, I was answering them too, but apparently I was answering direct message, so everyone couldn't see my responses. Let's see. So we tried to finish a little early today. We were trying to answer questions via the chat. I guess we could open it up.
Hey, Brian, while you're looking through those, it looks like somebody commented back about the C number. So all that is when HeadLight asks for that, your site manager ID is what they create your HeadLight account with, and that's why they're asking for that. It's not really a Citrix thing. It's like they're piggybacking off of the system we already have in place about what your user ID should be. So that shouldn't have anything to do with Citrix. And I don't see the question, but Caitlin messaged me and said somebody was asking about C&I receiving training on HeadLight ATM. So absolutely, you can get that directly from HeadLight. You can contact them, but I guess I'll plug my webinar while we're on this webinar. So every month we do an e-construction webinar that is open to all C&I consultants, LADOTD people. Contractors really wouldn't have anything to do there. So unfortunately, you guys are not invited, I guess, or you're invited, but you wouldn't want to be there. And so you're welcome to come to that. I talk about ATMs a lot because it's one of the big pushes. Our YouTube page right now has several videos or past webinars that have training on the HeadLight ATM and how to submit that, what the process is. So you can reach out to me, reach out to HeadLight. I'll tell you this, C&Is, since we have kind of mandated that for our C&I projects, HeadLight normally does those trainings for you, but obviously we're going to step in and help wherever we can. So, you know, if you're not on the email list where you have been invited to the e-construction webinar, the monthly webinar, I send out a newsletter along with that often gives you the invites in the newsletter and then kind of what's going on behind the scenes there also. So if you're not on that list, lester.fletcher@la.gov, that's a separate email database that I keep, and I'll add you to that one as well.
So Les, someone just asked kind of a similar question. Is there a written guide, manual, or PDF on how to create a sample plan in HeadLight on how to submit the ATM?
So not written. So I was tasked by Brian and Matt to do videos, and we have an entire YouTube page that has hours and hours of footage on how to do sample plans and you know, the ATM, that whole process. Now, I'll tell you this. So what I'm finding as I move through this is that it's not always a software problem. I'm finding that the problem is LADOTD folks and even C&I consultants not knowing how to make a sample plan, not necessarily how to use the software. And most of our videos deal with how to use the software. However, I did recently on maybe the last webinar start trying to, and I'm not really the expert here. I did those back when I worked as an inspector. It's been a while. But I am trying to provide some guidance on just how to create a sample plan in general. I think on the last one, I went over material codes specifically and how you can know which ones to select. So I'm going to attempt to continue that and try to give more guidance on just how to build a sample plan and then try to incorporate that in how to use the software to build a sample plan as well. So trying to be a resource there. Maybe we could even get some folks from our materials lab involved. They have some experts over there that create the material sample manual that maybe could help with that as well. So working on it. And
Do
this
they
is a
have
work in
access to
progress.
the YouTube?
So the YouTube is a public page. Let me grab the link and I'll drop it in here.
All right, so anyone that's working with HeadLight materials or field book for daily work reports, this is a huge resource that Les has been working on and our e-construction team for quite a while. They put together a very thorough, very informative webinar every month. They put out a newsletter, and they have all this information and training on YouTube that's available for you anytime. So, based on a lot of the questions we're seeing here, I would say that most of those could be answered on our YouTube page. So just reach out to those guys if you're not included in that, and make sure that everyone, all your inspectors and everyone knows that resource is available. We're also talking about, so we're going to continue these monthly webinars as long as they're relevant, and we're going to do our in-person meetings every other time. So we should be meeting quarterly for sure with everyone. But we're also, since there's been a high demand or a lot of asked questions about change order specifics, we're going to, I don't know if the format for a webinar would be the best way to do it. You guys can add that when you scan the barcode and give us your thoughts on it. But what we're thinking is that the guys here at Headquarters for Construction will put together change order training via video and make it available on our YouTube page, where we will get into specific examples and run through, how to do the markups, how to calculate everything, and run through example after example of different types of change orders and have that information available instead of trying to do it live on a webinar. That's what we're thinking. So give us your feedback on that, and we'll be if that's the direction we choose to go, we're going to start doing those, over the next few months, and they'll be available as soon as we can get there. So let us know your thoughts. Any other questions on the chat?
Back on the HeadLight training, if anyone thinks that it doesn't answer any questions or you need some more clarification, Les is always here to help y'all one-on-one. He's pretty responsive with his emails. So if there's something specific y'all are having trouble with through their training, he's more than welcome and happy to help y'all one-on-one.
It's not just Les, we have a whole team. There's a DOT e-construction email you can hit up, and it goes to the entire group.
Yep. Take advantage of the resources we have.
I would like to comment on, and I don't know the person, but saying that it takes some time to get your user ID because you're waiting on the Citrix account set up. Typically, those issues, if y'all can submit your request to have a new user set up in advance of the project, coming online, being ready for construction. If you've already had your pre-con and the contractor's ready to get out there and y'all haven't set that up, please, try to set that up as soon as you get your CE&I contract. Also, we've had issues in the past with the designated contact person no longer working for the company. This is for consultants and contractors as well. So whenever, the designated contact person is no longer with your company, we don't know that unless you notify us. So we're asking that, when that does happen, please turn in that paperwork to set up a new designated contact, because if you submit a new user request, we send that verification over to who we have in the database as your designated contact. And if that person's no longer there, it kind of languishes until somebody says, hey, I submitted this 2 weeks ago and nothing's happened. If y'all are seeing an issue where it gets hung up at the Citrix portion of getting the user ID established, please let us know. That's OTS, that's Division of Administration. So that's not DOTD, but we can certainly push them to try to get those out more timely. When I was site manager engineer, typically they would have that done within 2 days of it getting to their level. So if it's gone longer than that, please just let us know.
All right, so I have the dates for the in-person meetings in case you guys haven't seen that. Tuesday, October 1st, District 02. October 15th, District 03 and 07. October 21st, District 04. October 22nd, District 05. October 24th, District 08 and 58, and November 6th, District 61 and 62. So someone's dropped them in the chat as well. We put out that information, where we're meeting, and we're going to have lunch provided at these events as well. So we look forward, to meeting with everybody and having a productive full day. So please scan the QR code and give us questions and feedback for the upcoming events.
For those that filled out the Google Doc questionnaire about which location you'll be attending, I'll be sending out a reminder email to y'all a couple days ahead of time, just reminding y'all the time, location, and we'll also be having an agenda that I'll attach in the email as well. And yes, contractors, CENIs, everyone is invited to the in-person roundups.
Yep. It's not going to be a together morning meeting, break for lunch, and then send the contractors home. We're going to have a full day with a full agenda for all parties. Everyone is invited for the whole day. All right, guys. Well, hearing none, I propose that we adjourn. Again, anything that you have questions on or you want to talk one-on-one, one-on-one with us, reach out. Let us know what you're thinking. For this to work and be effective, we need feedback. So let us know what works, what doesn't work. We can take it, be honest with us. So the whole point of this is to make it, the most effective for everyone and get this consistent, everyone on the same page, everyone doing the same thing and not doing something, just because that's the way we always did it, but doing it because it's the right thing to do. So we appreciate everyone joining in. This is the biggest one we've had so far. And thank y'all. Thanks for joining.
Someone asked if we have a sign up for in-person or do we just show up? If you'll email Les, he can send you the registration. We're asking y'all to sign up so that we have a head count since we're providing lunch.
Yes, that should have gone out.
Yep.
Hey, Mr. Brian,
Yes.
this is Hamid Bofasi. I have a suggestion about the change order things. As I propose that it would be more beneficent if we create a micro session YouTube videos and targeting each change order. For example, extending assembly period, and that video just addressed that with example of assembly period, previous assembly period, change period, extending assembly period, and explain steps, what needs to be addressed, what's the most important element, not to forget, this is to remember. And the same thing for adding a line item, for increasing quantity, decreasing quantity, and we cover each category, each topic differently.
Yeah, so I mean,
So-
that's what I said earlier. You may have missed it. Headquarters Construction is going to be putting together videos on each of those subjects for each individual change order, providing specific examples, and we're going to make that available on our YouTube page.
That would be perfect.
Yep, we're working on it. Thank you.
Thank
for
you,
the,
sir.
Yep.
Yeah, Brian and Justin, District 02. Just on that topic, I know we had talked earlier about webinars or YouTubes. I think YouTube is the favorable, in my opinion. The webinar, it could kind of get lengthy with the question and answers, and I think the shorter the videos and the YouTube is an ongoing resource. Webinars only targeting current employees. We get a new employee to YouTube would be much more beneficial to have them sit down and watch these videos. To me, it's
we agree. This webinar is kind of change management, changing how it's tough whenever we're implementing these new software, all these new things and initiatives, and we're just trying to get that out to everyone so we have the same information going out to everyone at the same time. And this was just the fastest way to do it. And as this is needed, maybe less and less, we'll just transition to where we'll have that training available. And we certainly don't want to waste anyone's time, on an hour-long webinar that's unnecessary. We definitely won't be having them just for the sake of having them. The whole purpose is that we're putting out information that's useful and making sure that everyone's needs are being addressed. So appreciate the feedback.
Les, there's one more question about reviewing samples that were made in HeadLight but do not show up in LIMS. What's the best way to review them?
So we need to handle that on a separate meeting or with a separate email. So what they're referring to there, just to let everybody know quickly, is that, we're still syncing between two systems right now, really three, if you count the PAVE in some spots. So there are times where those samples just don't make it to LIMS, or some of the results don't make it into LIMS. We're working through some of those issues, but to be completely transparent, those issues don't go away until we're HeadLight only. Just because it's a complicated system. So whoever sent that question, you're welcome to email me. We'll walk you through it. Thanks.
I would say just make sure you fill out everything in HeadLight that you possibly can to make sure it transfers over.
Right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate y'all joining today. And if you have follow-up questions, just email them to us and we'll try to handle those or prepare them for the in-person meetings that are coming up starting, I believe, next week. So thanks again. Appreciate your time.
See y'all soon.
Thank you all.
Awesome job, construction team, especially
Appreciate
that last guy.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
thank you guys.